Didn't get it yet.
Okay, all right, let's bring this meeting to order. This is the last operations committee meeting. Call to order at Ryan
9:04.
9:04. We are at the operations committee is in need of a secretary. So I will do roll call and then we will appoint a secretary. After, I guess, before public or after public comments, if that's okay. Carrie, present. Arms,
Present.
Yeaple,
Present.
Dorney, present. All present. We also have our engineer, Ted Erickson, F and V, Andy Kuhn, Brandon Damon, and
In our association maps.
Yeah.
James wasn't finished yet. James Green, yeah. Mike Lewis,
Right.
Michael Lewis, and you are from
Glenn Devon.
Glenn Devon, thank you again. And online, we should have Michael Lessig from Woodhill.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else online?
Nobody else on. I was just noting Mike is a member of it.
All right, so we're at the adoption of the agenda. Is there anything that you would like to include? I try to think of everything, but
I don't have anything more to add.
thank you. Ryan? Jeff? Okay, the only thing is to appoint a secretary. So all in favor, or is there a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
I'd make a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Oppose? None, motion passes. That was Ryan, you made the motion, and Jeff. Okay. Okay, under correspondences received, I did include, we had an interest from a resident of I don't know which neighborhood, but he was interested in attending the operations committee. However, he cannot, there's a packet there for you, Mike. He cannot meet in person, he can only meet by Zoom.
Being the committee of a committee that is subject to OMA, I believe we're also subject to OMA, so I don't think that's a possibility.
Well, I don't think he would be a member. No, how does that work in the past? Because we have Mike here.
Yeah, so, sorry, Justin Flintoff, our articles of incorporation established a 7-member board and a 3-member operating committee. But we have for many years had an operating committee of 4 members to have more diversity of representation, including associations. So on June 23rd, we're revising our articles of incorporation and we'll reestablish membership there. But as proposed, Mike, Supervisor DeAngelo, and Andrew Dorney and I are proposing a slightly larger operation. So, okay, long story short, the LASA board would be appointing operating committee members.
Okay, so, well, just keep in mind that this person, I think is Mitch, or Matt. It's either Mitch or Matt Willis, I'm sorry, that we'll keep him in mind for the future. Okay, now is the time for public comment. This is time for members of the public to speak to the LASA Operations Committee for up to 5 minutes for any item on the agenda. And usually we begin with anybody that's present, so, we have one public. Yes.
My name's Andrea Lucan.
Or please stand up so we can.
My name's Andrea Lucan, and on May 5th, I noticed sewage in my basement. On May 6th, actually Andy right there came out, and then at the end of the day, they did find out that it was in the main line. And I'm waiting for this to be resolved as soon as possible. And I would just like an update. I feel left in the dark and I don't feel like it's fair. And I have to put my house back together, and also an adjuster from Tokyo Marine has never showed up. So how do I move forward when there's no adjuster to look at the damage? I mean, there's things I had to do, like clean up the feces from the neighborhood, which was probably several thousands of gallons that went out to my door. And then there's the environmental concern as well. So it's already been over a month. So how long does this take? And I heard 30 to 90 days, but I believe the Tokyo Marine policy said 30 to 60 days. So I'm wondering where they got that information. And I would like this resolved as soon as possible. And I don't know what else to say, but it's a hardship my family does not deserve. And I would hope that LASA operations would know where all the manholes are and know to maintain them on a regular basis. This one was covered with just chip seal, not asphalt, and it should have been found immediately. So that's another concern I have. Why don't they know exactly where they are? It is not my job to maintain the main sewage line. It is not my job to know where the manholes are. It's only my job to maintain my property, and mine was fine. So, and then I did read Public Act 222, and I didn't find anything in there that stated that this wasn't a responsibility of the municipality. LASA is not a private entity, it is a public entity. And I don't know why there's any pushback on this. This could be a done deal, and it's costing me more time and stress, and for really no good reason. It's pretty cut and dry, so I would appreciate immediate attention to this.
Attorney.
Do you want me to
Yeah.
speak? Okay, sure.
Ms. Lucan, again, like we discussed at the board meeting 2 weeks ago, you know, it's, no one wants to have a backup into their basement like you've experienced. However, Act 222 does not provide for strict liability, okay? It's not as simple as you saying there was a backup in the main line and that settles the question, then LASA is responsible. That is not the case. There's a detailed analysis that has to occur under Act 222. The question of whether there's a defect in the system is only one of several questions. And as we advised, the matter's been sent to LASA's insurance company, and they're in the process of reviewing it and to make a determination of liability. And we're waiting for that to happen. The information that you've provided has been forwarded to them, including the emails that you sent a couple of days ago. Those have all been forwarded to the insurance company. As they advised before, they anticipated a 30 to 90 day window. They're reviewing it, and that's the amount of time that it's going to take.
How do I trust that they're reviewing it if they have, how do I trust that they're reviewing it if they have not had an adjuster on the scene?
Well, I don't know that they need to have an adjuster on the scene, okay, because it's not your insurance policy, understand. This is LASA's insurance company. You gave a claim to LASA, LASA then sent the claim to its insurance carrier. LASA's insurance carrier is the one that's reviewing it. They have the information that's been provided. I'm not sure that they may send an adjuster out. They may or they may not. If it was your homeowner's insurance, I think you would have a different expectation, right? Because it's your policy and you're the name insured.
It wouldn't cover your line being clogged.
Well,
It would
again,
maybe cover my contents, but I needed a sewage endorsement. I didn't even know
Right.
that was a thing. And I did put it through, they denied it,
because you didn't have a sewage endorsement, right?
but that would just be for my contents. That still would be
Right.
the fault of LASA because the tree root was in your main.
I'm not stating that that was the case or not. I think that's still open to investigation and review. I'm sorry to say that, but that's just how it is right now. I don't know.
Okay, so then why can't I talk to an adjuster? I can only talk to their attorney, Thomas Landa, and I can only talk to you.
Talk to Mr. Cathcart, who's
I
the,
called him and he will not
Okay.
talk to me.
okay, well, if you have a question of him, I can reach out and ask him to call you back or to see what the process is. It may be that Mr. Land is the one that's gonna communicate with you on that question. All I can tell you is that the information that you've been provided is being reviewed by LASA's insurance carrier, and we have to wait for them to make a determination before we can advise you on what the next steps are. And that process is ongoing and we're looking at it. I heard from F&B's attorney yesterday. I'm gonna be talking with him in the next week or so. So things are happening to get information and review the claim, but it's still under review. And again, it's a multi-factored analysis. It's not strict liability. It's not as simple as saying, well, if I can establish that the clog or the backup was in the main line, that's the end of the inquiry, the municipality is automatically liable. That's just not what the law provides. Act 222 is an exception to government immunity. The general rule in Michigan is that government entities engaging in the business of government are generally immune from tort liability with certain exceptions. One of those exceptions is this Act 222 for a sewage event, a sewage disposal event. And that's a defined term in the statute. If such an event happens, then the statute lays out the requirements for what have to be established in order for the municipality to be liable. And there's I think 5 different factors that have to be established.
What are the 5 factors?
I can't remember them off the top of my head. They're laid out in the statute. I think it's 691.1417. And establishing that the system had a defect is only one of those 5 factors. So all of this is being reviewed and it has to be reviewed. And again, our insurance company is the one or LASA's insurance company is the one that has this right now and is reviewing everything and will advise us on what their determination is.
Is there any way to expedite this? And how can I have good faith that they are not just waiting it out?
Well, I mean, because I've talked to them and they told me that they're looking at it and it's their intent to try to make a determination as quickly as possible, but they also have to be as thorough as possible.
Didn't that include coming to the property to see anything?
I don't know what their standard process is for investigating these type of claims. I don't know if they just rely on the written records, talking to you on the phone, looking at the pictures. They may feel that they have enough information that they don't need to send somebody out. I don't think it's a matter of course that they would send somebody out on every single claim that's forwarded to them. I can't speak to that though. But I'm sure that if they felt a site visit was required, in order for them to review and make a determination that they would do that.
When I spoke to the first adjuster, Marie Cole, and then it switched from her,
Yeah.
she, it was on Friday, whatever the Friday after May 5th was, which I should be able to do, but I'm tired.
No, it's
Um,
May 8th or 9th, whatever
yeah.
that date is.
She asked me who authorized the cleanup. And I was like, what? Like, authorize the cleanup? Do you want me to? And so this is where I feel like it's just not fair. So would you let feces from your neighborhood? Like, okay, if it was in my line, I would only be dealing with my poop. But that was not the case. Like, it would be physically impossible for me to defecate this much. So physically impossible for my family. I mean, maybe a year's worth, but it was I showed everybody, I can send you the video if you don't have it, of it flowing through for like 1 minute and 14 seconds. And that's what it was like for 33 hours. And to me, that's an emergency situation, not just for a homeowner, but for the outpouring to groundwater. Why did it take longer? Why wasn't it more emergent? So like Andy came out with Kyle from M&K and they were there like 4:30 on the 6th. And he was there earlier, told me it was in my line. And then once they got the manhole, the chip seal removed from the manhole, they're like, I went out, how's it going? And they said, yep, it's in our line. And the sludge. And then they came, and then they had to wait because Kyle didn't have the right amount of the right jetter, the right whatever. This isn't my field of expertise. So they came back the next morning. So it's an emergency situation. Why did I have to endure it for another 13 hours? And just let feces go out of my home and then stay around?
I can't speak to any of those specifics, ma'am. I really can't. I don't know, all the facts. And again, it's being reviewed by the insurance company. So I'm not trying to ignore you, but I can't speak to that. And all I can say is that the information that's been provided and collected has been forwarded and it's being reviewed by the insurance company.
I just want this to be resolved amicably, fairly, and quickly.
And again, all I can say is I've talked to the insurance company and their intent is they're reviewing it and are gonna look at it.
But 30 to 90 days
as
is
quickly as
completely, so was I not supposed to clean my house for 30 to 90 days?
I'm not saying
You know,
you should do, because I'm not.
But that's what Marie said. The first adjuster, Marie Cole, said, who authorized you to clean up?
I don't
And
know what.
that's ridiculous.
Never talked to Marie. I don't know what she was saying. I don't know what Robert would say if you asked that question. But again,
I didn't ask, she asked the question.
dealing with
first.
this, we're here right now with the information that you've provided and it's being reviewed. And all I can say is the law has a process for this and that's Act 222. You've provided the claim. There's a period of time for LASA to review.
But I'm left in the complete dark. I'm left in the complete dark without any, just wait 30 to 90 days. It could be 90 days. Tom Landis said maybe even longer than 90 days.
Well, I think it's trying to be reviewed as quickly as possible, okay? But it takes time for insurance. This is what the law provides. I mean, I'm sorry to tell you that, but that's really the answer that I can give you. Is that it's just not gonna happen quicker than that. I mean, and you're not a special case, all right? This is just how long it takes generally.
I know, but what else? This is probably gonna happen again.
Well, I'm not saying that. I don't think you can say that either.
Well, West Loch Alpine, the pipes were leaking. Maybe, I think those were on the property lines of the homeowner.
We still don't even know what the cause was of your event, okay? So we're looking at this,
Andy and Kyle told me it was a tree root.
Okay, well, again,
So how do you not know?
because I'm not making the ultimate determination of liability on this, and there's other questions. And there's videos to review. I'm just saying at this point, I'm not gonna agree with you, or disagree. Again, the claim is under review, okay? And I'm not trying to be argumentative with you. I'm just trying to give you a straightforward statement that your information has been sent and forwarded along and it's being reviewed, from what I've been told, as quickly as possible. And our interest is trying to get that review and determination made as quickly as we can. And then we'll advise you as to whether the insurance company determines that, there is liability or not.
So what you're saying is I'm still left in the dark.
You're not left in the dark, and from how I look at it, that term is like you have no knowledge of what this process is. I feel like.
I
you've been
do have a
very-
knowledge of what the process is. but I don't know what to do.
The final answer is yes, I don't know what the final answer is gonna be. And if you need, something on what to do, I can't tell you that because I'm not your lawyer. Maybe you need to get someone to advise you on that question. All I can tell you is that we've got your information. It's been sent to the insurance company and it's being reviewed from what I've been told as quickly as possible. And we're trying to gather as many facts to give them so that they can make that determination. So I don't think you're left in the dark in that sense. Yes, it is unknown at this point how the insurance company is gonna decide this question. But again, we're hoping that answer is gonna come.
So you're left in the dark as well?
I don't know what the insurance company is gonna do, correct? That's why it's still under review. When I said it's under review, they're looking at everything and they have to make a determination.
Okay.
So I don't know what that final answer is gonna be.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
If I could just a technical note, the Zoom is still running and everything's being recorded. We have all of our Zoom participants. It's just not showing in here. So
Is there anyone online that would like to speak? I don't know. We should be able to still hear people.
absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. Yep. So apologies for that, but just the recording and everybody's still on. Would anybody like to speak who's on Zoom? I see 2 participants. Please raise your Zoom hand. I see them, Jillian.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we need to appoint a secretary for the operation. Everybody looks away. Stop it, I can't do it.
I can do it. I've been taking minutes so far for this meeting, so I'm happy to do it.
Thank you, Brian. Is
Thank you, Brian.
all in favor? Is there a motion?
You want to make a motion? Or will somebody other than me want to make a motion?
Sure. I make a motion that Brian Yapel from Scioto Township is the secretary for the operations committee at this point.
A big second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you,
And
guys.
I'm not gonna ask for opposed because Ryan may. Thank you. Okay. Approval of the minutes. We have the operations committee meeting, a draft meeting minutes from December 13th of 24, and then also from March 14th, 2025. For the December 13th, are there any changes, recommendations? Or corrections?
So Jillian, I think on the 13th, it said I was absent, but I wasn't on the committee in December. Not in the operations.
Right, you were appointed,
We didn't have a design representative until like a month ago or two when I said I would do it.
huh, Jessica, I think
Yeah.
you took the minutes,
Mhm.
you remember?
So Mike, I don't see,
No, Jeff.
yeah, Jeff. Oh, yeah, so Jeff, I think that's fair. Strike Jeff. He was not here, but he also was not absent because he was not expected to be here. Thank you, Jeff.
Right, and I mean, it looks like we had our supervisor and our clerk was here.
Correct.
So we had almost a full board meeting for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jeff.
yeah.
I think that's correct. Strike that.
Make a motion to approve the December 13th, 2024 minutes with the removal of Jeff Harmon from trustee as he was not yet appointed to the Lhasa operating committee.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Oppose? None, motion passes. There's these extra pages. Okay, moving on to the Operations Committee, March 14th, draft minutes. Any proposed changes? No. No, is there a motion to approve?
Have a motion to approve the minutes from March 14th.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? None, motion passes, minutes are approved. Okay, so now we're to reports, and this is just the regular reports of the Operations Committee. We'll have a discussion later of other things. So the first on the list is F&B report, Brandon, Damon, and Andy Kuhn.
So I did prepare a written report also to give to you guys. So kind of some old business. Excavators Inc. is on site at the plant, working on the water line. They should be hopefully finishing it up here the next week. I also have news on the recirculation pump that was ordered for the treatment plant. It has came in and we're just waiting on schedule from professional.
Great.
Let's take a look on my list here. I sent Jillian a annual service that RS Technical does on the chlorine gas and SO2 system at the wastewater treatment plant. I didn't put the price down here, I apologize, but it's $3,000 some odd dollars to do that work. It's an annual service that we do. It's done every year to prevent failure. We brought up, we gotten a letter from Eagle about PFAS study that was being done. And AECom was contracted through the state to do that. That has been done, and we have not gotten results at this point. We're just waiting on results. So they've taken influent, effluent, and biosolids PFAS sampling. So I'll pass along results when we get those. In April, we did have an exceedance of BOD percentage removal. The permit states 85, we were at 84%. So it did show up as an exceedance. In March, this kind of goes back to the chlorine calibration annual. We did have some trouble with the chlorine feed system, and that led to some an exceedance in the 7-day average of fecal coliform. So that's kind of important. And back in January, we also had an exceedance of the BOD percentage removal. And that one was at 82. Something that's kind of new that Jillian and I have talked about a couple times is,
Hey, Brandon.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? What was your
Yeah.
influent BOD those days? Do you?
I'd have to look. It's the monthly average.
So
Where
monthly
where it
average.
was violated.
Sometimes what happens for Loch Alpine is there's so much groundwater
Yeah.
that comes in that it's dilute. I mean, that you have a lower percentage of, or a lower concentration of BOD coming in, so it's harder to get that 85% removal. That's been a struggle from in the past as well. Just wanted to give it some context.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Your biosolids contract with NutriGrow is coming to an end in December. There are 3 contractors that I know of, BCA and Biotech and NutriGrow. I would recommend that we maybe put out some feelers to see what you get some prices for the board to look at. I'm sure NutriGrow would love to extend the contract, but with that being said, there was a compliance communication that with the biosolids, Eagle representative, they did an inspection and had brought it to our attention. NutriGrow is responsible for hauling the biosolids and land applying it. Previously, it was last year, they land applied to a field. And then sent me a field transfer request, essentially. Essentially, they applied to a field that wasn't Losses, and it was called out. So there has been some problems with NutriGrow, and this is the only place I've ran into this with NutriGrow. So I'm not saying you guys can do with what you want. We can get you prices and see what that is, but just so you know, there has been some issues on the reporting side from them. So in that compliance communication with Eagle as well, in your residual management plan for your biosolids, it states that your backup plan, if you can't land apply, is that you're gonna take it to Chelsea. Chelsea has ample storage. We responded to Eagle and told them we're in discussion, and I have been. I've been talking with the supervisor or Jason over to the city of Chelsea. Jason Freeman. And we're kind of corresponding back and forth to try to get some agreement. Because they want a written agreement. It's always been just a handshake in the past, so they want a written agreement. So hopefully we'll have some kind of, Jason tells me it's at their attorney right now, get it looked at. Cummins came out, did their annual service on all the generators plant. Well, all the plants. They did find at the wastewater treatment plant that there's a O2 sensor failure. They sent a quote. That generator is still operational. They did something, they told us it is 100% operational. And it has been exercising, so we're just waiting on the parts at this point for them to come back. So I think we've talked about this previously, the MPDS permit was up April 4th. We submitted the renewal application. I checked. And the $400 Lassa paid that. So now we're just in a holding pattern waiting for the state to review it and give us another thing to kind of give you an update on. I know we talked about this before, the raw building. We're working on getting pricing to replace the air handler unit. The person that we previously gotten a price for replacing the air handler unit, the board at the time just decided to just repair the one that was there. I did find that old quote for like $23,000, but that's no good. So I've reached back out to them. They're trying to update it. I have not heard anything back. I also reached out to Haley Mechanical to see if they can get us a price quickly, because he's not been real responsive. So I'll keep you updated on that. The water plant, the water system. all required annual samples have been taken for the year. For the water treatment plant itself. Those are all done, they're at the lab, we're waiting on results. Kind of the next thing coming up is disinfection byproducts. That's July for Loch Alpine. We've got a sample kit, we're just waiting for July, because we can't take it early. We can't take it in, it has to be done in July.
You have LCR done?
Hmm?
Do you have blood and coppers done?
Yeah, we have till September for that, we're handing those out.
Good.
Yep, that was actually, you're jumping ahead of some of my list.
Sorry.
Yeah, and we only have to do 10 lead and copper this year, so. Should be a little bit quicker, we got a lot of, residents, we've got good samples back from before. But the state did send us an email, and I got it the 21st of May. We have an extensive list of lead and copper sample sites. We have 109. And not all of them gave us samples last year, and we had to go to some other residences. And the state, we had to add those ones that we went to the sample site plan, and they gave us 60 days to do it. It's been done and sent into the state. I seen it on the website the other day, it's in review, whatever that means. It doesn't hold us up taking samples or anything. The last board meeting, you guys approved Northern Pump to do pump testing on all the wells, on all 3 wells. They were actually supposed to come yesterday to do that, and then they had an emergency and canceled on us. So we're gonna get on, we'll get it done this summer. That's kind of the time frame to do it. The consumer confidence report, I think Michael's online. He was gonna be mailing that out. I haven't talked to him to see if that's been done, but I did get on the website, and it's not up on the website yet. I know you're the contact for that, Andrea. Do you have it?
I don't have a copy of it.
Oh, I apologize. I'll make sure you get a copy today.
I'll put it on.
Okay, I thought I'd send it to you.
Mike is online here too.
Could you just
Mike?
jump on, Mike? Keep him unmuted just in case.
He is.
Okay.
I'm here.
Hey.
Yes. I will put that up online today on lassowater.org. And it is over at the printer, and we should have it out next week.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Something else that been talking to Jillian about, there's a hole behind well house number 1. I got a price for you, Excavators Inc., because they're at the wastewater plant. They said they'll fill that in with pea stone for us for $1,600. That's just a verbal, I don't have a written quote. He said, because he's already there working, he gets stone, fill the hole in for $1,600.
What's the cause of the hole?
It's undetermined. Animals, something like that.
It's like an old basement in that building.
Yeah.
It's just, there's
Yeah,
a picture somewhere that I could show you, but you can see into the basement. And
There's an old basement that was
Yeah.
filled.
Yeah.
It needs to be filled, because I'm surprised I haven't seen kids climbing in it. I know if I were a little kid, I would have found that as a little fort. I mean, it's-
There's not like a groundhog under there.
Oh, there's probably lots of things under there.
I mean, it's not huge, but it's big enough that someone could slither through if they wanted to.
you can see the bottom, though. It's not that deep.
No, it's a basement, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
it's,
a basement for that building.
Jillian and I talked about this yesterday. There is a hydrant that is on Bridgeway Drive that is leaking. Parts have been ordered. They said we'll have them next week, and we'll get that. The seat is not wanting to stay closed, and it's wanting to leak on us, so we're gonna be on that next week.
Older one or newer one?
That's a Peace Jordan. Probably,
I mean, it's
Just
probably
fair.
180.
it's one of the newer ones. I didn't look at the date on the back of the hydrant, but it is one of the newer ones, but yeah. I've been running into trouble with those too. So that's all I've got. Any questions?
Sure. Question, sure.
So, Brandon, are there, which of these items do you expect to be on one of the next board meetings, the 16th?
If you'd like, you'd put all of them on there. For the board meeting, I was gonna send you this.
They would all be ready for an upcoming board meeting.
Yeah.
Monday, board.
Yeah, Monday.
Well,
Monday or the
It's up to
following.
Jillian, on which one.
yeah,
I just
so
wanna make sure we're moving forward.
if we could,
Yeah, I think
if
there's
it's some of, trying to think. I haven't published it yet because I was waiting for this meeting in order for us, if there's anything else to add. So you could, we'll coordinate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll send you this and we can go over.
Or-
I know you have the price for the annual service and that, I think those was only the two prices,
There's some things that are payment of the bills.
so.
I do have a question, the 2024 water quality report. This, I did include it in here. This needs to be on the website.
Yeah, and Andrea, I
Andrea.
didn't realize, I thought Andrea had a copy.
Oh, you did put it on?
No, I will put it on.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't, I haven't got one.
And Michael just said to put it on.
Oh, okay.
It's for, cities, more than like 100,000 has to put it on a website. So technically, we don't have to put it on a website, but we have a website, so you might as well put it on.
Yeah. More information.
I just was looking back at what we did previously, we've always put it on the website,
Yeah.
it's a good thing to do.
Okay, anything else?
Did DeWolf give us an estimate? I'm sorry, not DeWolf, Excavators Inc., because they don't go by DeWolf. Did they give us a quote for filling, bringing in pea stone, or is that just something he
Not
was
written,
planning
he
on?
just told me over the phone $1,600 because he's working right there,
1600.
he's got the equipment, he can do it,
How many days do you got left for the water, you know?
I wish I knew. They did put a curb stop on it to stop it from leaking, just, they were letting it dry up. It's pretty dry, so we're gonna push him.
Did they find anything and why it was leaking?
Not yet. Previously, it's been holes. It's been broken. It's a old copper line. And previously, I mean, it's broke 3 times in the last 2.5 years.
Shallow? Not shallow.
It's not very deep. It's only maybe 3 feet. There's a one of the lines going to the trickling filters. It goes over top of it and it's, maybe that deep. So there's a lot. It's spaghetti down in there.
Anybody else? Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Ted, it's your turn.
So I'll start with the painting, that there's been a Dixon Engineering prepared the painting spec, and Dixon's typically they do most of the tower work in the state, so it's kind of, they're the experts at it. We're just trying to get the, this pushed across the finish line, I guess. So they sent another, we answered the first set of questions, we're at the second set of questions just to kind of verify things. I guess my thought was that we would set the project or advertise the project to contractors such that the bids arrived before the next operations committee meeting, so we could look at them here and then make a recommendation to the board. Such that suggesting September 9th at 2 p.m. to take bids here. That work would probably occur in the springtime of 2026 then. They're looking at the tank color, unless I would say the same as existing, but that's obviously not my decision. That's, you and the board. That's not something we have to decide now, but standard colors are cheaper than bigger colors or different colors, but we already talked on.
Yeah, we already decided that we're fine with the
Decided
same
blue.
color.
Or-
Color's
Same
fine.
color as close as possible.
Yeah,
They're looking for a bid bond percentage. We would use 5%. Typical stuff. Liquidated damages is where the contractor fails to perform, you're prepared to, collect some money from them to cover costs that that may be associated with that. If you're looking at an inspector being on site and maybe babysitting costs for the operations committee, operator, we're kind of came up with, between Tom and I, came up with a number of $1,250 a day. So, I mean, again, that's in the contract, it's, you know, you collected. It's money available to collect if if that contractor runs late. For invalid reasons, right, to kind of keep his feet to the fire. Then insurances, I mean, I'm okay with it, I don't know if you want, it matched up what we asked them to do, if you want Decker to review, that's fine. Then I suggest that we just let Dixon send it to the contractors that are available, so. That makes sense.
And Decker did review the.
Decker sent them requirements of what should be in the bid documents.
Yeah.
So they put that in the bid documents, which, from my perspective, what Decker sent and what in the bid documents match. But, obviously I'm just an engineer, insurance people do things differently than you would, so if you want Decker to review it, that's fine, if, basically, we would need this wrapped up here such that sometime in early August, so that we can have this thing advertised appropriately for that September 9th date. And then we were tasked to look at the generators. The water plant has an existing generator that's roughly 20-25 years old, is diesel. Ideally, it's a natural gas generator. I mean, so when you have a power outage and that generator runs, it's running. I guess I'm curious to see what Cummins had to say about that generator, Brandon, when they were out there.
I'll dig around, I'll send you what we got.
I'm sorry.
I think they sent us a report, I'll dig around and see what I.
Yeah, because I mean, it's old, but I mean, it works, right? So it's a decision to make on that.
Our limitation on that, Ted, is the diesel fuel tank.
Yes.
It's only 46 gallons, so it doesn't last, that's maybe 24 hours.
Right, which is pretty typical of what you get in generators. And that generator only runs well number one, which is the smallest of the 3 wells that Loch Alpine has. Well, House 2 does not have a generator. I guess there's a spot where you could plug a porta generator in there. And the water plant or the wastewater plant generator could be brought up there from time to time. When it was portable, that was stolen, gosh, like 6-8 years ago. And that was replaced with a permanent generator. So I don't think there is a portable generator anymore. So adding a generator would kind of help both the tower project and kind of the system reliability. Then there's variable speed drives allow the wells to control at different flow rates and different pressures. There's one existing, I think well 2.
Yes.
So we would suggest adding one to well 3. So that would give us, all wells on backup power, and the VFDs would certainly help with the tower being down and ability to control. So we looked at kind of designing up the cost for well House 2, and we're roughly $20,000 to develop those documents. We can either have it bid out, or we could, partner with the contractor to get a turnkey operation. So I guess that was my task, to come up with a cost for us to do that. That $20,000 round number is the cost.
So that's just for the engineering specifications.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess one thing we learned here is that our DTE supply line for our gas generator we bought wasn't large enough,
Right.
which is a whole nother question for like a budgetary consideration, because just to plow a bigger gas main up to this building from Zeeb Road was $33,000.
Yeah, it's like an extra 40K.
New box too.
I think there's like a 3-inch or 4-inch gas main that runs through Loch Alpine. I have the gas maps from previous projects, so we looked at that. They had no problem with the wastewater plant generator, so we were able to power that. It just took them like 6 months and $500 to go out there and turn the screw, so we had the right pressure, right? So that was the biggest issue with DTE on that issue.
Yeah, cause Corby does all the sub work for gas, so
Yeah,
the
that's
DTE
correct.
doesn't do any of their own work for it.
So we would want to coordinate with that with them to make sure, but yeah, I think we're okay based on the line size.
So is this something that will be proposed to the CIP, or is it something that you expect?
The CIP includes some costs for this. I don't, kind of, when we start adding the VFD onto it and, I think you can buy a generator for the CIP cost, but I don't think you can get it connected with the automatic transfer switch into VFD, so we might want to look at that a little bit closer when we do this. And, from the perspective that the water plant generator is also on the CIP, but maybe that one we can defer and kind of take that, allocate that whole allocation for the well house 2. I think that's the more critical function at this point in time. Likely your well house 1 generator would run longer if it wasn't powering the well, right?
Yeah.
Those are my 2 items for this. The CIP is kind of next, so
Yeah. Any questions about what's been said so far?
should I prepare a formal proposal or should we do this kind of a formal proposal? Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, for the board meeting?
Can I do it for the 23rd though?
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
No, wonder.
Yeah, this is just an unusual, because we had to move the meetings up because of the budget
Yeah.
year, so we'll have more time next time. Okay, Ted, you're up for the CIP. Now, there was something that Colleen had emailed saying not to use something.
So on the one I prepared, we had put like a one column D, the fourth, whatever, the second column that shows up. Those totals didn't match necessarily what was extended because we had changed things. I didn't change the total, so she was changing the total around. So on the CIP, there's the generators we talked about and the rebuilding the iron filters. Those are 2026 projects. I think, based on that, what we were just saying about the well house generator. I think we need to relook at those numbers a little bit. I think as a whole, we'll get well house 2 done for sure for those numbers, but we want to look at how that plans out more in the future. For the sewer capital projects, the 2 that are pending in 27, 28, would be adding a tertiary filter and getting rid of the gas chlorine and adding ultraviolet disinfection in lieu of that. The process of the tricking filters, it can slough solids off. The bacteria can hide in the solids, so the UV doesn't work without the filter. The filter will help us for compliance issues when, as this new permit comes in and the phosphorus limit being quite low at 0.2 milligrams per liter. And the UV, it's an improvement over, in my opinion, anyway, it's an improvement over gas chlorine. I think it's more operator friendly, it's safer in general. We're not having gas. We're getting rid of 2 chemicals, chlorine gas and sulfur dioxide gas, used to remove the chlorine after we deactivate any bacteria. So the thought process behind the timing of those projects, the bond that funded the headworks building and the equalization basin is expiring 26, 27, 28, something in that. And that cost can kind of be allocated for that project, so that we're impacting rates very little by using that available, by timing the project such. The trickling filter arms, they're just, at some point, I think we just need to address those. 20 years since it's been done, so
Yeah, yeah, when I was looking at the narrative, one was done at 55. The other one was like 83.
Okay.
But I don't know if they kind of look like they're the same, so they might have been done at the same time. I don't know, I didn't,
I think they were improved at one point.
Yeah.
But it's been quite a while since they've been touched. That was all I really have to say about that. If there's any questions or.
It's, I know we'll be talking about the sewer cleaning and also the valve turning, that'll be something that you had on your list. So I see that the sewer cleaning is in here, but,
Yeah, when Colleen and I talked, we added it here just to kind of highlight it so that we're not missing it. The valve turning is more of a maintenance cost, not really a capital cost, so
Right. Yeah. And then the valve turning, that would be the same, but, yeah, we did talk with the county about that, so
So valve turning, and from this presentation, valve turning is in the maintenance portion of it,
Yeah.
not here.
right.
So the amount noted for financing would be anticipated that we would go out to bond.
I would like to, well, so those replace the new well pumps and stuff like that. Those are future placeholders. They're not something that we see in the next 5 years. So that's, I mean, I don't know that those are something that we're even considering as viable projects today, just as something that kind of keep on the list and the mental list of it more so. I would let Colleen speak to how the rates and the money works. She had a lot more nuanced understanding of that than I do.
Yeah, I guess that would be one question, because I'm looking at the numbers. The filters and UV numbers add up to 1,550,000, but then on the left-hand column where it's summed, it's only $1 million even.
That was what Colleen corrected. The board packet is correct. The
Yeah,
version
this
I'm
is the
looking at is correct.
We're going to go over not so much the numbers.
How come there's nothing between 27 and 33?
For water specifically.
Well, and again, this is just a placeholder. We'll have the formal on Monday.
I guess I mean, from my perspective, we're kind of hitting the big couple items here with those listed. We may need to change that a little bit, Jessica, to make sense with the numbers I think we're actually gonna see for the generators. But there isn't, after the tower, there isn't a lot to do in the water system. I mean, there's that water main could be replaced. But that's awful. I mean, it's gonna be quite expensive. The Whitman Circle is a 4 and 6 inch cast iron. There's some 4-inch cast iron on Joy Road. And those are kind of the ones that I would, attack first because they're oldest, they're the oldest in the material. That's there's the oldest and smallest, I guess. So, but I mean, there's not a burning need for that today, so we don't necessarily capture that.
Okay, I think that we should finish the lining project started by Jay Livernoise when, F&B took over in 2020. We had said that the sewer cleaning map was mostly made up of uncompleted sections or sewer lining.
I'm sorry, I didn't follow.
There has been a lining project for Loch Alpine that's been done and a lot of the clay pipe has been lined.
Yes.
And there's a map, the sewer cleaning map was mostly unlined, the unlined part.
When they were sewer cleaning, I think they would sewer clean all of it, even if it was lined.
I'm sorry, I'm misspeaking, but anyways, have we finished lining all of the clay pipe?
I don't think all of it, I don't know the answer to that question specifically. I don't believe so.
Okay.
I believe that we've lined the areas that we noted that was lots of infiltration and things like that at that time, right? Because those things change. But there wasn't,
So we should continue with that project and finish the rest of the mastic, clay pipe.
yeah, as we sewer clean and going forward, knowing where the leaks are, targeting those to get rid of infiltration is.
Yeah, it's getting rid of infiltration's a big thing.
Yes. There was, I mean. 18, 19, something like that, there was. Something was lined on the northern portion of it. I could dig it up, and there was a pretty good leak, and you can see in the video, it was several gallons a minute leaking and that was lined. That's, I believe there's one lined, Green Nook Boulevard or up the Huron Court, one of those two are lined. 19 or 20, those were the last two I recall.
Okay, so perhaps for the water side, we should, stick that back in, as something we need to update.
Agreed.
And I did the math using, M&K's list and Dexter for doing 1/5 of the system. And it comes out to $35,000, not $25,000. But you can use cable rotting, and that would be cheaper to clean the system with. But Vector trucks, and a video truck, is kind of the gold standard. Right? You can do it by cable rotting, and it'll just be slower, but it will be cheaper.
It's better to video it.
It is better to video it.
You don't know if it's clean if it's not,
Right.
so.
Yes, I would, want, videoing. If you were going to go with a cable riding, that's the contract, you do it with somebody who uses a cable riding camera. Because you can camera it either way, using a jetter setup or with a cable setup.
To get a video too, it gives you a baseline of what's there. So,
And then you can dictate what you need to put in your, future repairs from the video.
And then if there's.
The system is already video,
are they?
yes,
Good.
yes.
Oh.
Well, good. We'll just keep updating it.
I do know that the pipe that was clogged was clay from excavators on Bridgeway. Just down from where mine joins it.
Meter replacements. Where are we with those? Are we just doing them as they fail?
As we get one, I think we've got one we're trying to schedule recently. I think you've done two. I think it looks like.
Yeah, there are two so far. I don't know, I think we're probably ready to do meter reads again here soon, right?
Yeah, recorder, did them in April, so they're coming up.
We'll see if any more fail.
Are they still failing?
That's,
Or Michael?
Seems things have slowed down. Good news. So,
Okay, good.
yep. And the new meters are working great.
Awesome. Michael, how many meters you have left that are not Metron?
Not Metron, about 400 and some. I don't know, somewhere between 400 and 450.
Okay.
But
Is that like 450 are Metron?
no, 450 are
Still not,
census.
okay.
Yeah, and we determined, or at least I determined, that most of the problems have been with the dual transmitter meter. Or dual transmitter, the batteries failing, it appears, and we have replaced I think all of those have been replaced, so that's why things have gotten a little better. And we're doing, I'm sending over as customers call, I will prepare a work order, send it over to F&V, and they will schedule a time to get that customer taken care of.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Anything else for capital improvement?
Well, there's the rest of the list, but can be discussed later. Valve turning is gonna be involved.
Well, why don't we talk about it now since
Okay,
there's,
Dexter dug itself into a hole regarding valves ages ago. Where we couldn't turn our valves and it was a very painful, like 10-year process to dig it way out. But basically, we need to get with a map, find a test turner, and they do all the ones that we know, I think are functional, and make sure they are functional. And you also have to have a standby, because something might break. So you're gonna have to have a standby team to break whatever valves the test turner breaks. And then you have a basic map to start with for the future for emergencies. And then following years, basically you order the system and find out which ones you really need to get back into action. And test turn them and see if they work or not, and get them replaced if they don't work. And you just do it year by year. And then add that to the hydrant flushing. Currently, that's not part of hydrant flushing, but the most effective hydrant flushing is with valve turning, because then you can do directional flow and you don't get rusty water complaints every spring and fall. It's far more efficient to turn the valves and the hydrant flush at the same time. It keeps the valves working. You use less water. It removes better the contaminants from the pipes easier. You get lower THAM and HAA of 5 numbers. But it can be done a little bit at a time.
yeah, and this is an older system, so we have to make sure that
Right.
we're not doing too many and then we have a lot of breakages. Okay,
So basically, the future contract with F&D, we'd have to stick in directional flushing or just bid that out to someone else. Also, Bob Center and I are going to cook up a list. Actually, he's cooking up a list for the shared responsibilities of the HOA and HOAs and us. But we share lawn contracts with them. They do the streets. We pay for repairs when we have to do, water and sewer repairs. And I feel that sometimes get lost. And also I don't know about Glen Devon, but LAIA has problems with the 24-hour communication line. And they would like that to be addressed.
okay.
Is that?
They don't-
People
they-
not answering it
Yeah, what
or?
are the?
They, there was a rusty water complaint, from Les Lostrom, who basically called the on-call, line, 24-hour line 3 times. And then Bob sent me a message and I messaged Andy, and Andy said he had flushed it the day before and hadn't told the man. And then I talked to Brandon and he said that, yes, indeed, he had called 3 times. On the 24-hour line, but he hasn't got me a call log.
There was a note that we didn't know was in their instructions. That if they are asking for an office line, that they were to call somebody out, a number that wasn't associated, and I don't know where that ever came from. That has been removed. And they're under new instructions. I don't even know where that ever came from. So they're under new instructions. They will immediately call us and let us know what's going on. So I think that's kind of where, because it was the second call that went right to Andy. So I think it was this first call that didn't go.
Is that a relic from our old business manager, or where do you think that number came from?
I think it was the old operator number.
Oh, it was just really old information.
Yeah, so because there was an old office number there at one
Right.
point. So that's been removed.
Yeah.
And we're also getting emails, like non-emergency stuff gets sent to us as an email. That way we can just, check the email, deal with it. And they've also got new instructions because it wasn't in there. I get phone calls for billing questions. If billing questions come in, I gave them the billing number in the email. So they can, that way that doesn't get muddled up, they can get right to billing.
Also, there's the issue that nobody knew to call a 24-hour call line for the sewer backup. The homeowner didn't know that there was even a 24-hour sewer, emergency line.
Yeah, I'd like to go through the website. We have a couple different websites.
Right.
And we need to streamline that. And then also, when the bills go out to have, announcements or whatever, I think Michael said there's a space on the back that we can put something in there. This is check out the updated website with the updated information, something like that.
But I just want to confirm with Michael or for a ratepayer, we do have that emergency number on the bills. Right, Michael?
Well, but if,
Seen it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're-
Weren't we, did we just kind of segue from capital improvement into something else?
Well, yes, we did.
Cause,
Sorry.
cause
We're talking about valve turning. then we
yeah,
just-
we went from valve turning to communication.
Sorry, I had a list that was CIP and maintenance and LAIA, and it's all got smeared together.
Procedural stuff is
Okay.
another discussion.
Yeah.
I agree with what you were saying about the valve turning. We gotta have a contractor online in case they break, because if they have not been turned in a long time. We also need to have a plan on which ones are bad, so the operators can know where to go shut stuff off if they can't go to that valve to go to a different one. So we need to know that hydrants have to be on that. They go bad. And if they're not exercised, they freeze up, and you don't wanna find that out when you've got a line break in the middle of winter.
I don't know if I'm able to speak or not, but another thing that might be helpful on that front, maybe incorporating a GIS system, so as we're out there at a main break or something, you'd know those factual information, like you're saying, hey, this one is iffy, if at best. The next one, we definitely we've opened this last year, we've shut it, we've had good main shut-offs and that on this, and it's just something able to be used in the field a little bit better than blueprints and that.
actually Ted had mentioned that, last week, GIS.
ArcView, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Put something on ArcView to where you have the specific,
Arrows or Silversmith or one of those projects.
We have everything, basically we have the manholes and the valves all captured as point data, right? So you could get it onto an ArcGIS online application, Silversmith, whatever, pretty easily. The cost for just to have Loch Alpine have its own ArcGIS or ArcGIS online system is with one user is like roughly $2,500 a year or something like that. It would take somebody some time to get that information in a usable sense, but then you'd have it on your cell phone, right? So it's probably a $8,000 to $15,000 endeavor to get it put up and set up and whatever attributes, and the more you want, the more it costs, right? So.
Yeah, I know Styles been building out its own sewer or GIS, and the more applications you develop, the more.
it depends on what you wanna.
Yeah.
You just want locations and fillable form for each one, it's relatively easy.
As part of that SAW program, we had developed a very rudimentary one, that
Right.
you could click on a sewer line and it'll show you the cleaning map, right? And so it was, that kind of functionality could be built in pretty easily.
Well, it helps efficiency.
Be good to budget for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's, talk with Colleen and have her crunch the numbers, I guess.
Yeah, I would put that.
Okay,
Do
so,
one quick, but do you currently have one backup valve? One valve?
I think there's a couple.
There's a couple of,
Depends on the size.
Yeah, it depends on size.
But
yeah, there's a few in the park.
During the water main replacements in 16, 17, we touched a lot of there's a lot of new valves in the system. It's not as. I think there's 80 or I don't know, there's 80 valves, 116 hydrants or vice versa. I don't remember off the top of my head. but we touched a lot of valves in that, so they're more, there's probably more of them 10 years old than you think, right? And
Yeah, you're replacing.
yeah, and the valve turning could be a little bit strategic based on the new valves versus the old valves, so.
We kind of put a little bit of a plan together. I don't know if I sent it yet.
You did, and
Kind of breaking it out into third, because it was 117 valves. So we kind of broke it out into thirds to kind of incorporate some of the older valves along with a lot of the newer valves. To try to make sure we don't, we have some we can turn and then some, it might be an issue. And not us.
if that one's an issue, but you can get it without impacting too much more with this one, maybe you don't even mess with that, right? So.
Andrea, we've covered pretty much
Everything on the list. So are you done with hydrant flushing?
No, they're actually starting next week. We're a little bit behind.
Have you done your spring oil changes? I assume you've done them by now.
We picked up the oil. There's only 2 gearboxes, so.
Okay, then the HOA checklist will do at
A different date.
Yeah.
Yep.
okay, Ted, anything else for CIP? All right, okay, so, I did not include Michael under operations and I needed to. So Michael, we have a report for the operating committee.
I do not have anything specific. Oh, all right. Hello. Hello.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'd like you do it too. We're gonna do basically.
Sorry, what did it?
Michael Arms was.
Yeah.
Michael, did you say you didn't have anything specific?
I don't have anything specific, but I can answer any questions you might have.
Okay, are there any questions?
So we gotta.
I don't
have any for today.
Make sure that is, taken care of, plus, like, same person.
Okay, let's, move on to G, no, I'm sorry. I2, F&B discussion.
Andrea.
Andrea.
Geez, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Okay. So we're here at the F&B discussion. We're just gonna, with the SSO report, it was submitted. We have the full document, so that's all we're going to say regarding that. Next is performance. Now, this is a discussion that the scope of work, policies, procedures for any of us to ask questions. You had some questions?
I'm sorry, I've lost track of where we are. Where are we on this?
So I thought we actually just did all that.
Yes, I thought we'd done that too.
Well, that was the report of what was done before, but you wanted to talk about performance, scope of work, policies and procedures. At least you had some questions about that, or.
Right, yes, we had streets. You wanted to talk about streets, and Bob Sunder isn't here to talk about streets and how we handle things between us. For things like paving and, manhole repair and things like that.
In the situation that we just had, and you made comments that there are paved over structures. And I don't know how many there are, and if LASA's not doing the paving there, then there's a disconnect between whoever is doing the paving. And that's gotta be addressed. So, those things need to, again, that's another point of having a GIS system. And the more specific, it really depends on what kind of unit you use, but the more specific you are with where the things are, you can find them later and find out if they're gone. But there should be coordination between LASA and the operators and whoever's doing paving to make sure that that doesn't happen, whether it's chip sealing or paving or whatever they're doing. And bottom line is, if there's loose covers or whatever, that needs to be addressed, not paved. So it's a communication thing. It's gotta
Yeah.
be.
We
We
can,
gotta work with that.
that's easier to take care of. Brandon and Andy, regarding when LAIA does road work, have they informed? How does that, how is it, how?
They just show up, and start doing it. We didn't even know they were doing it. I've never been informed or really in the past, I've
Okay.
never really been informed of.
Well, and the bottom line, there should be communication. It's not like they just do it. They put it out to bid and everything else, just like we do. So there's time for this, for coordination, and when they have pre-con meetings, we need to have somebody at those pre-con meetings to say, hey, listen, this is where our systems are, this is how many, and they should already know how many structures are in the streets. So that needs to be handled. That's something that's.
That's been an ongoing issue over the years.
Yeah.
I've been part of Loch Alpine.
And the bottom line is, if we get something on GIS and we know that they're there, then we go back and get them cut out. I mean, that's what has to happen.
There's things they can do. They could put like plastic covers over the manholes and
Oh, yeah.
pull it up. I mean, because this is chip sealing at this point in time. It's not-
Yeah, that's relatively easy.
Okay.
But again, if you don't know where they're at, and I worked with enough paving contractors that they go and then don't wanna come back. They don't wanna come back and do the minutia.
But you know,
Oh, yeah.
at the board meeting, it's a special meeting, someone asked about, do we have all the manholes captured? And I believe the answer is yes, we have all the manholes captured. And that map, I sent you the map already, and that map shows them all, so.
Okay.
I don't, cause we did a pretty thorough dig in the SAW program for that.
Right. And if we're gonna talk about contract terms and stuff, I wanna see the contract. So that kind of stuff, like what, and I know we talked about valve turning, that was something that's new and things like that. I'd like to see it so I can read it, so I can discuss it.
So I would assume the valve turning contract, it would come to the board for review before, yeah.
Well, the whole contract, everything that we're talking
Yeah.
about.
But the road contracts are with the association.
That's
so-
just a communication, and
Yeah.
I mean, we're in contact with them, we have representatives, so.
Sure.
Oh, I agree.
That just shouldn't be
Easy.
happening.
Yeah,
So when you say contract, you're talking F&B contract?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like
Yeah.
the master
Yeah.
contract that currently exists, and then any contract proposal to have F&V doing additional scope of services beyond what's in the current contract.
Thought that we included that in.
We did,
A meeting.
that part we did, as far as the valve turning we had talked about and
We
have.
talked about it and had not gone anywhere yet.
right.
Well, yes, and I've asked Brandon to ask F&V for contract for valve turning and a contract for
Correct.
what's the other one? The sewer cleaning.
I just wanna see what's in the basic contract, the one that we have signed with them.
Yeah, 'cause I've always saw the signature page. That's all I've
in the
seen
last
today.
packet.
Did you? 'Cause maybe you did, I
That's,
missed it.
all I've seen to date of that contract is the signature page.
Yeah,
Oh.
I think you just included the update, not.
Okay,
Like,
I'm
the
sorry
extension-
because
the
you did give it to
extension.
me and I may have.
She requested, when we gave the amendment, you're like, hey, can you send me the original copy, which we did.
Yeah,
Okay.
2020. Okay, yes.
If you could
And
send that
for
out,
some
that'd be
reason,
great.
I will send that out. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I can, do you want me to include it in the packet for Monday? Okay,
That would be great.
okay. I really thought I had done that, but.
It's all right.
All right. And then the other two, that's in the process, so whenever you get that, we can shoot that over. Let me think, so how has it, you've been here since 2020 and we have a newer board. So how has what's been the process for F&B working with the board? Just in general, like I know you have the operating committees that you come to and you present what you've done, or what needs to be done, your recommendations, same with Ted. But working with the board itself, because we go 3 months in between and a lot can happen. What's been the,
So, our point of contact has always been the board chairman. So, emergencies, we've contacted the board chairman or, we've always, like Dave Navarre, we always work through Dave Navarre. but with the length of time between the meetings, it's been a it's a kind of a struggle. Cause, you know, the board chairman kind of just gave us the authorization to just do what we needed to do, depending on the situation, whether, you know, it could have been the maintenance of the chlorine gas system anywhere to a water main break. And they just kind of gave us the approval to do it verbally, and we take care of it, no problem. Because there's such a length of time between the meetings. So, I mean, that's kind of been the process, you know, then we'd bring everything to the meeting and discuss it and, you know, sometimes after the fact, but, you know, that way everybody was informed of what was going on. But it was a struggle with 3 months.
I do know historically the operating committee is the one that kind of, that's all the ideas and then gets ready for the board.
Yeah, we always
So
basically
the
gave us,
operating committee produces the board meeting agenda. It's kind
yeah,
of.
the same thing that I would give today, I'd do Monday,
Mhm.
you know.
Well, and there's certain things like, and you get it with supervisors. I know we have it with ours in Webster. It's just if something's below a certain threshold,
Right.
then it should go to whoever that person is and they can say, do it. For instance, the Wolf saying $1,600 for this hole. That shouldn't be something that waits for a board meeting. There should be somebody with authorization to spend up to X.
Mhm.
And I don't know that we've talked about that or that we have that, but we need it.
Right, a procurement policy.
Yes.
And then,
Yeah.
yeah, do we
What's
Historically, we've just approved things and then approved them retroactively at the
Yeah.
board meeting as needed. If it's something kind of big enough, we can certainly put something on paper, but we have always behaved in a way in service of the authority, you know, approve things as.
Right, but I don't know if we have anything official
Right,
to do that, and I think we
Yeah.
should probably do
I
it.
think so too. I think.
Do it up to X, and if it's an emergency, it can go up to this,
Agree.
and then, you know, everything else is
Yeah.
handled by the regular board.
I can bring that.
Wow, that was,
We're awake now. I hope that's empty. Okay, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I
what's
did.
Webster's, procurement for supervisor, we're $5,000
$3,500.
per month.
We used to be 20,000. But now we're 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of different organizations have different things. I mean, I've seen it to where stuff for going out for bid has to be, you know, anything over 10 or over 5. It really depends, but I think that's stuff that we need to hammer out, and we can
Agreed.
talk about it in our operations, or I mean, in our regular board meeting and get that
I
set, but
guess
think
the-
about it.
Yeah, the other comment I would go back to is if 3 months is too long, there's no reason we can't meet more often. At least I'm saying that, but I'm up to hearing other people. Yes.
Yeah, Colleen had an idea of the board meeting once every 3 months, the operations once a month.
But the question
again-
comes down to why. If it's something like we got $1,600 that's waiting out there for approval, you know what I'm saying, that kind of stuff.
That's.
Well, yeah, but if we need to hash out procurement policies and other
Sure,
types of things, then
And-
we can't really wait.
and we probably do need to start meeting more frequently to get that stuff hammered
Yeah.
out until it's running smoothly.
Mhm.
Not that I want more meetings.
Oh, I heard that you love meetings. Okay. Right, that's good. Let's see. Thank you for explaining or how that's really helpful. Yeah, and on the board before, I've been on here since October of 2023, but we meet once every 3 months, so it's almost as if, you know, it's been really interesting trying to catch up on everything. I've been spending hours over the weekend just reading everything I can. Okay, so let's move on to the biosolid hauling contract renewal or bid. You kind of touched on that before, but that's something that we're gonna have to figure out and we can
Bid.
do. Okay. Well,
There's one, there's biotech.
I say bid, how long have we had biotech
No, it's Nutrigo.
or Nutrigrow?
The 3 years.
It's been 3 years.
Yeah, well, It was Michigan Ag got bought out by Biotech.
Did-
Yeah, so it's a.
And how long's our contract with them? Is it yearly? 1 year?
Every 3 years.
It's 3 years.
So, yeah, so.
Okay. Yeah, I think we bid it.
Okay, I'm gonna put it on the agenda for Monday. Even though it's up for renewal in December, November, December.
But when it expires.
Yeah, I just don't wanna have to wait till right before and then we're scrambling, so.
I mean, as long as we got enough, if there's enough options to put it out for bid, you know, if we can get several, we should do it. We got time right now.
So I just wanna make a suggestion that maybe, it is good to go out ahead of time and get a bid, but maybe not open them until later on in the fall, so the contractor doesn't kind of think that, oh, hey, we're just gonna kind of wait. Because we're gonna say rain or something else, because sometimes they do tend to stretch those haul offs. And so I don't want to see the plant be put in some kind of predicament, because they kind of are like, well, you're not you're not going back with us.
And we do haul about three to 4 times a year, depending. So
Well, when's their contract up and when's the next haul?
the next haul actually is next week, which I think I forgot to mention.
So you can't haul in the winter.
Yes,
So they can't land apply from, I think, December 20th, somewhere in that date to
March.
yeah, March-ish areas. There is a window there.
So I'm new to the land apply thing and this part of it. That is, they go and put it on fields that grow stuff that's not for human consumption, right?
Correct.
Okay.
They.
I know, I'm thinking about that.
It's injected inside, so it's 3 feet down.
Yeah, they can't do it in the winter. Ground's frozen
Yeah, without special permission.
They
We
can.
can,
and it could run off. It's not what you want to see.
Okay, so James, you said we can prepare it, but just,
Prepare, you guys can talk about it and
Sure.
get it discussed, and I think you guys are spot on. I mean, definitely go out for bid, get a good price. Just very few players in the game on that one, but, yeah, but then maybe hold off. All right, we're prepared, we're gonna go out for bid, but can't maybe wait till late summer, early fall to go out for bid.
I think that's a good idea.
is this our first haul of the year, the season?
I think this is the second.
Second, okay.
Because we actually did winter hauling last year, I think, well, January, not last year, but January, we did give permission to do special haul. Then.
Okay. Anything else? Right, we're here are public comments. This is the time for members of the public to speak to LASA Operations Committee for up to 5 minutes on any item on the agenda, and we still have the same people. Nobody else has come in.
All I would say is I know the sewage drain was ceramic or clay, tile. And I don't know for sure. I never saw a camera from M&K showing what was in there, but I know that they did put a camera up there to find it. And I handed over video from Michigan Power Routing proving my line to be clear. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you.
And I'm like, just anybody like to speak, please raise your hand.
I see none. No, okay. Is there a motion to adjourn at, I don't know. if that-
37 a.m. I
37 a.m.?
Move to adjourn.
support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? None? This meeting's adjourned. The, we'll have our board